entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
Here's a tidbit. I like monsters. I like cool-looking monsters. I like monsters with creative designs. I like monsters with practical execution. I like monsters with unique mythologies. I'm a fan of monsters. And with Godzilla King of the Monsters just around the corner, this inspired me to make a video discussing another monster film that unfortunately I had to pass on. So, without further ado, let's talk about the Hellboy remake. Now, at the time of this recording, the Hellboy remake has just concluded its domestic theatrical run, and it has earned only $21.9 million in the domestic box office. Against a $50 million budget, it has grossed a worldwide box office of $45.9 million. So, by all measures and by all accounts, it has been a flop, and that's unfortunate. Now, despite my reservations about this film, I was actually hoping that it would succeed because I like Hellboy. I like the series, I like the franchise, and even though I wasn't able to get the Hellboy film that I wanted, I still wanted this to succeed because I didn't think we'd get another one. Now, for any of you all who have kept up with the news and the developments that went behind Guillermo Del Toro's attempts to get the third film in his Hellboy trilogy made, by all accounts, by all stretches of the imagination, all signs pointed towards we would never see Hellboy on the big screen again. So the fact that Legendary Pictures came in, they were able to get investors, they were able to get producers and whatnot to invest in this remake, at bare minimum that this film would do as well, if not better, than the Guillermo Del Toro films, just so that we can keep the franchise going. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. So why did I pass on the film? Number one, I really wanted that third film in the Guillermo Del Toro trilogy. I really wanted it because I'm a huge fan of those films. I'm a huge fan of Guillermo Del Toro, and that's the movie that I wanted. But I'll get into more detail with that later on in this video. The second thing was, by the time the first trailer came out, and from what I saw, there were a lot of things I liked and there were a lot of things I didn't like, and it had me feeling mixed on the production as a whole. Number one of the things that I did like, I liked the director. Neil Marshall, he is a very good director. He's very competent. I love the work that he's done in the past. So I was actually hoping that he would, make a really good film. He had my vote of confidence. And the same thing goes with the cast. I thought that the cast was really good. I thought that the lead was really good. I thought he would have made a perfect Hellboy. And then the story that this film is adapting is one of the most popular and one of the most intriguing of the Hellboy source material. So even that I thought would turn out a really good product. But then things like some of the character designs, some of the special effects, the fact that it's much more CG incorporated rather than practical effects, some of the things that I saw with some of the material, this film, from the way it looked and from what I heard from other reviews, is a lot more schlocky. It's a lot more juvenile, and the fact that, with the whole marketing campaign, legendary AF, and the fact that this, was going for an R rating and all those things, like, from everything I saw leading into its release, I'm like, yeah, I don't think this film is for me. I'm still going to end up seeing the film eventually once it makes its way to home media and once it makes its way to streaming services. I'm going to check the film out because I am a fan of the source material, so don't worry about that. But everything that I was reading and everything that I heard going into this film ahead of time, I was like, you know what? I think I'm just going to save my money on this one, because even though I want the film to succeed, I have always advocated for people that at the same time, while you should financially support the things that you want to continue to see, you should also financially support the things that you think are actually good. So those things are mutually exclusive. They're not bound to one another. So yeah, it's sort of kind of the double-edged sword when you get into that whole kind of thing. Now, the purpose of this video is not to rag on the Hellboy remake, because as I've stated, I have yet to see it, so I cannot deliver a proper and a fair critique of the film just yet. But no, actually, the point of this video is really in praise of Guillermo Del Toro and to put more of a spotlight on his original 2 films, because I love those films. I love those films, and I love Guillermo Del Toro. He is my favorite director working right now. He is a creator that I respect immensely just because of some of the interviews I've seen with him, some of the things I've read about him, the way that he addresses filmmaking, his approach to cinematography. He is one of those few directors that I can pinpoint to as being what I would regard as a fine arts director. And what I mean by that is his approach to filmmaking very much comes from a fine arts background. He is one of what I would refer to as an illustrator-esque director, also in the same degree of, say, Tim Burton. And from that background, everything else about their filmmaking stems from that aesthetic. And you see it. You see it in the way in which he designs the creatures in his films, the level of detail that goes into the actual set designs, even the way in which he approaches the narratives of these stories with these monsters. The same thing he did with the Hellboy films is the same thing he did with Pan's Labyrinth. It's the same thing he did with The Shape of Water. He has done this so many different times, and I really love his work. I really love his work. I really respect his work. That man is a visionary, and he is such a visual director. Every time I see one of his films, I'm totally blown away, and I really, really appreciate the amount of effort, the amount of care that goes into his productions. So that's the main reason why I really wanted to see him finally conclude his Hellboy trilogy with that 3rd film, with everything he set up for it, for where we left off at the end of Hellboy 2: The Golden Army, for what we knew was coming with that 3rd film, with everything they had been building up from the first one. I mean, that crescendo, I was really looking forward to that. And unfortunately, we didn't get it. Now, as I mentioned before, if you have been keeping up with any of the news or any of the developments that were at work in the negotiation proceedings that was going on with getting that 3rd film underway, we know how trepidatious of a time that was, how difficult the negotiations were, and depending on what articles and what reports you might have read from different sources, it's different things, right? Some sources said that it was a conflict of budget. Studios weren't willing to give Guillermo Del Toro the budget that he needed in order to get the film underway. Some sources say that it was creative differences because of studio interference, because of wanting to bring in like new producers, wanting to bring in like new writers, things of that nature. There are all types of rumors. I don't think any one source has actually confirmed what happened with those negotiations, but at the end of the day, Del Toro wasn't able to get everything in line to actually get that film underway, and I think we are at a loss for it. I think we are the worst for it, because that could have really been something special. And I think that the impact that Del Toro made with his first 2 Hellboy films, I actually think it was underappreciated. And this is what I mean by that. From what I've read, studios made the claim that Hellboy was a risky project because even with those first 2 films, as successful as they weren't box office, right? Those films pretty much made their money back. By and large, they broke even. They didn't really pay dividends for the studios or their investors. So for Del Toro, with his 3rd film, you know, he was requiring a much bigger budget. They didn't think that it was the type of investment that they would really get returns on. And that makes sense from a business perspective. I understand that. But this is what I think they underestimated. I think they underestimated the fan base that those films did garner, and I think they underestimated the reputation that the series garnered as a Hollywood franchise, because people did like those two films. It's the reason those films were as successful as they were. And I do believe that it was the reputation and it was the fan base that set the expectation for the remake. So when the remake failed to meet said expectation, I think that did have something to do with its box office performance. I think that did. I think that played a role. And if nothing else, consider this. Now, I have heard that there are a couple of aspects from Del Toro's films that made their way into the remake. Chief among them, number one, being the coming-of-age story for Hellboy. That is something that is unique to Del Toro. That is something that is unique to his take on the character and his adaptation of the original source material. That's not in the comics. The second thing is him and Professor Room's father-son relationship. That's another thing that is unique to Del Toro. That's not really in the comics. And I heard that both of those things made their way into the remake. So for as much as the remake wanted to set itself apart as its own thing and its own unique production, it still borrowed from what Del Toro was doing from those first two films. So to say that the studio, or at least the creative team involved, this notion that they might have disregarded those films, I don't think that's true. They recognize the importance of what Del Toro did with those films, because why else would they use those elements in their own film? What's going to happen with Hellboy moving forward? I mean, in terms of getting a major motion picture again, I think the chances of that are very unlikely. I would like for it to happen, but I don't think it will. I know right now there are rumors about a Netflix series, but I've already read articles where like the creator has shot that down. Other people have shot that down. So if that does happen, it would happen at a later time. It's certainly not happening now. I think Netflix would be a great place for Hellboy, especially if they decide to take it back to a practical place as opposed to a CG heavy place like the remake was, because that was another favorite thing of mine from those original films. The practical effects, the makeup, the puppetry. Rick fucking Baker, that is my man. That dude, with all the work that he's done throughout his career, with all of the practical work, with all of the makeup, and I mean, dude, come on now. For those of you all watching this video, if you don't know who Rick Baker is, you've seen his work. The dude, I mean, it's the standard. He is the Michael Jordan when it comes to makeup and practical effects. The dude is illustrious. That's MJ. You know, that's Emmett Smith. You know, that's Babe Ruth. All right, that dude. If you can't get him, try to get the next best. The creative minds, the creative hands in those first two films. My goodness, man. The level of production we got, we were spoiled. But I think that's the direction you would want to take any type of revival of the franchise. Bring it back down, get much smaller in production, get a little bit more indie, get a little bit more grungy with it, get practical with it, shoot for as best as practical effects as you can get. That's the direction I hope that any type of revival takes moving forward. And I'm definitely will be looking forward if another filmmaker, if another producer decides that they want to pick this franchise up again. Best of luck to those guys. I'm rooting for them. We'll see what happens. So that's going to go ahead and wrap up this video. I want to thank you all for joining me again this week, and please, in the comments below, leave your thoughts on this topic. And for those of you all who actually did see the remake, I want to hear from you guys. Let me know if anything I said about my presumptions going into that film beforehand, if any of them hold up, or if I'm totally wrong. Hey, if I'm totally wrong, I'm totally open to disagreement. In the comments, it's wide open. Please let me know. Let me know. Maybe there's something I'm missing. Like I said, I've been wrong before. I hope I actually am wrong this time around, and it was just a matter of, well, the film just didn't do that well, but it's still a good film. If you like this video, please feel free, thumb it up, share it with other people that you think might like it as well. And if you have yet to do so, do not hesitate. Subscribe to the OAW Entertainment YouTube channel. Click that bell so you don't miss out on any notifications or any uploads coming to the channel. And finally, if you have yet to do so, consider becoming a patron of OAW Entertainment at patreon.com/OAW. And with that being said, this has been Larry Williams, OAW Editor-in-Chief. I'm signing off, and until next time, peace.